BBC Radio Newcastle. Right, shall we get into the show? This is your Upload Show. It's all about celebrating the creatives right here in the North East. Now, you might have heard of the Nerdy Up North podcast, and I'm going to play you this. The podcast is all about getting nerdy, celebrating the nerdiness. And if you are somebody that gets nerdy about television, films, games, food, absolutely anything, then you are a part of the gang. It's simple as that. Now, I got to talk to Paul. He's a co-founder and co-host of Nerdy Up North podcast, and they've just hit the milestone of 15k followers. Congratulations, guys. Now, as I said, they've got everything going on. They've got fingers in all the pies. They've got Monsters Up North, Trekking Up North, and the podcast itself, Nerdy Up North. It's a community, it's a Facebook group, it's memes, it's absolutely anything you want it to be, and it's all about celebrating nerdiness right here in the North East. So I chatted with Paul to say, well, it is more than just a podcast, and they've got fingers in all the pies, don't you?
Yeah, stressful, but yes. It's we've not hit any stumbling blocks so far. Like I say, it's been great with the people who support, like yourself. Like, you've been a great support, and it just seems to be a roller coaster that just doesn't have like a stop at this moment.
If anyone's listening to this now and maybe they've never heard of Nerdy Up North, what is it all about? Because it's more than just a podcast, isn't it?
It's a community spirit, but it's all about supporting people who love anything. You can love food, you can love music, and people think, oh, I'm not very nerdy. But in fact, you're nerdy about any day of life. You can't, like, nerdy's not what it used to mean. It's basically, because it used to be like a bit of a derogatory term back in the day when it first came out. But now it just means you're passionate and you've got a love for something. And Nerdy Up North itself is more about support. I know recently we did an episode about wrestling. We did it because people are quite nerdy about wrestling as well. And we got a young girl on. The reason why I got her on the podcast as well is because I noticed her on Instagram. She made a post saying, I'm sick of talking about wrestling, because all she was getting was male viewers or male subscribers abusing her online because she was a female and liking wrestling. So I instantly reached out to her and said, there's communities out there that won't give you that type of abuse. Join ours. And she has, and she came on the podcast just last weekend, and she actually was great. She, like say, a great personality, fit in quite nicely, but she actually said she was going to quit doing online stuff because of the abuse, and we kind of helped her find a passion for it again.
Amazing stuff. And that's one thing, that it's a safe space, isn't it?
100%, yes. That's what we try and do. Anyone that comes in and tries to do gatekeeping or ridicule anyone for liking anything, that kind of gets shown the door pretty quickly, and we don't do drama type thing, behind the scenes drama, but that's another story for another day. But yes.
So when it comes to you then, Paul, what is your nerdy thing? What gets you going?
Oh, now that's a loaded question. I am a very much of a collector, or get very hyper focused on different things. So anything that's cool, like I've got, like, if we could see the video, or if you've looked on the YouTube channel, you'll see my background. I have a lot of different collections. I've got horror collections, comic collections. I went through a phase of collecting anything to do with Stranger Things, but mainly I am a movie nerd, and that's been something I've had since I was a kid. Going to the cinema at the first time, being wowed. I know you're a lot younger than me, Emma, there, but you'll probably won't remember the old ABC in Sunderland Town Centre, where it's basically a nightclub now. But sitting there on a Saturday morning, they only had 2 screens, waiting to see whatever big movie was on, and just getting lost in movies. And it's something that I love, and I'm a big advocate for movies as well, like going to the cinema as well. I think it's an experience to have, and it's still a special one for me.
And if you were to pick maybe a top film, could you?
I think you know this answer, but yes. For me, it is always going to be The Goonies. It's just so many good memories, or just brings back, like, who didn't want to have a childhood like The Goonies?
Now, I'd love to say who wouldn't want to have the childhood like The Goonies, but Paul keeps telling me, Emma, you need to watch it. And since the first time I talked to Paul, I still haven't watched it. And I'm getting told off. So it's on the to-do list. I swear I'm going to put it on. I'm going to write it down now. Watch The Goonies. And I'm going to put that there. And we're probably never going to speak of it again. This is your Upload Show. Now, we just heard from Paul. He is part of the Nerdy Up North gang. You might remember them. A few months back, we had them on to talk about their new ventures. Not only are they a podcast all about things nerdy up north, as if. They've got other fingers and other pies. They've got Monsters Up North, which is another podcast. Trekking Up North, which is another podcast. They talk about absolutely anything nerdy. From food to films to games to anything you want. But as well as that, they're more than just a podcast. They're a community. It's a place where you can just be nerdy and not get judged. They're on Discord, they're on Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it now, YouTube, and the stream as well. So it's a big collaboration between the gang as well. And most recently, they've just hit an amazing milestone of 15k followers on Facebook. If you want to go check them out, all you've got to do is search Nerdy Up North podcast and they'll come up. But as well as that, if you think, surely there can't be anything else, I caught up with Paul to see what else they've got in the pipeline.
Yeah, we've got a few things going on. I know we've just launched a few extra things on the YouTube channel as well. One of the other guys, Jake, he's basically doing interview sections with either local streamers or local stores as well. I know he's just done one with Geek Retreat Sunderland where he's had the people involved and had a conversation with them. Also as well, very excited to say, I know we did a charity podcast a few years ago, but this one is a little bit more personal and special to us. We are doing a charity podcast. So the 14th of October, we are doing a charity podcast stream where last time we did it for 12 hours, which was hard work, but this time we've decided to do it for 24 hours. So yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Very interesting. I mean, last time you said you did a 12-hour and it was difficult, and 24 hours is obviously double. What do you think? You think you've prepared for it? Do you think you're ready for it?
Ready's a difficult, probably not the right word. I don't think you're ever ready for it. I'm determined to do it just simply because of the cause we are doing it for. We are doing it for Cancer Research UK, just simply because my sister-in-law got diagnosed with breast cancer only a few months ago, and she's going through the treatment, so it hit hard for me, and that's why I felt useless, like I couldn't do anything to support or help, and that this is my way of showing support and helping. And I know Sammy's best friend recently got the all clear from breast cancer. Captain Goodwill's had family members who's been affected by cancer as well. So everyone in the team had someone, like, say, close to them that's been affected by, like, the big C. And when looking at over the group as well, actually lost a few members over since we started due to cancer as well, which is always heartbreaking. But if we can do something a little bit like daft, or like put a smile on someone's face, but also raise a little bit of money, it's going to be interesting as well, because we are going to be going for 24 hours. I know we've worked out a kind of a strategy for it. So we're going to get a lot of people on at the start, because I don't think we're going to get many people joining us at 2 o'clock in the morning for a chat. But we are going to play some retro games through the night. But we do have an American podcast who we do a lot of work with as well. They're going to come on around, like, say, during the night to kind of keep us going. They do a lot of work with Captain Goodwill, talking about the Trek side of things. And I believe we are having a very special guest on the podcast as well. I believe you're going to join us.
Of course I'm going to join
as well.
you.
Yes. And if the plan's right, we're going to talk about one of your favourite subjects as well. I think we're going to talk about Jurassic Park. Is that correct there?
Absolutely. I would like to talk about nothing more for an hour. And that's why sometimes on the show it's like, right, Emma, the show is 2 hours. You've got to just keep it sweet. And I'm like, okay. But if you get me going, I reckon I can do you a solid hour of talking about Jurassic Park and dinosaurs, because that's one thing that gets me going. Absolutely. What sort of other things are you going to be talking about then?
Well, we have a quiz. One of the members of the group, Jessica, is creating a quiz. So we are going to get a lot of people to come on, and it's supposed to be all different sides of nerdom. There's going to be supposed to be trekking questions. There's going to be horror questions with the monsters and just general nerdy quiz. And I know we have tried to do quizzes on the Nerdy Up North in the past, and Jessica always wins. So she is quite like the quiz master as well. We do have a bit of a breakfast review. Beth and Nova, basically our number one fans, bless them, normally do like a cereal review on the podcast or on the Nerdy Up North page as well. So she's going to come on and talk about her favourite cereal for a bit as well, just for the crack.
A little sidetrack. What would your favourite cereal be?
Oh, see, I'm not it's going to be weird though, I'm not really a breakfast man, but I used to love, I think I used to be quite boring. It used to be cornflakes when I was a kid, or Rice Krispies, just to hear the snap, crackle and pop.
You see, that's what we talk about on this show. We get nerdy, we talk about stuff like that, and of course, what's your favourite breakfast cereal? Mine, as well as Paul, I'm not a morning person, and if I do ever go, it's probably a biscuit, which doesn't class as a breakfast cereal, but it'll have to be muesli. I'm boring. What can I say? Thank you so much, Paul. And of course, you can check out their podcast, Nerdy Up North. You just search Nerdy Up North on anything and it'll come up. They've got Discord, they've got Twitter, they've got YouTube, they've got their podcast, they've got their Facebook group, and of course they are raising money for Cancer Research UK on Saturday the 14th of October, doing a 24-hour live podcast episode, including me making an appearance talking about Gigosauruses, Tyrannosaurus Rexes, Triceratops, Brachiosaurus, Diplodocus. If now isn't the time, but if you want to tune in, you can do. All that happening on Nerdy Up North.